So I'm not sure if you've ever tried this technique, but let me tell you, this is powerful. It is extreme but easy, and that's the best part. Reframe me is the singular breakthrough technique that will get you out of your failure track. But we need to set some ground rules here, because people often define failure as this teachable moment, as a necessary stumble on our way to growth. But let's be honest, learning from our mistakes isn't always easy, especially when the failure feels demoralizing, disheartening, or just downright painful. And it's true, failure is psychological, but unless you're a monk who has reached this state of nirvana that you aren't affected by your wins or losses, we all feel the pain. We feel the heartbreak, and that's when it becomes physical. These emotions, these energies, and this pain that you hold, it is at a cellular level. So not only for the time period that you feel like a failure do you feel these emotions, but also beyond that, unless you heal physically. And that's not even the worst part. As long as you think in terms of limited time, you will feel you have failed. Check your weight every hour and you'll realize nothing's changing. You can do anything, but you will not lose weight in that 1 hour. And frustration sets in because we focus on that 1 hour, that one day, but not the decade. Think about it, that exam that you failed maybe 5 years ago, maybe was a failure back then, but what is it now? And continuously thinking in limited time frames creates a constant sense of urgency. It makes these small setback experiences, not sticking to a daily goal, not seeing instant results, into massive failures in our minds. Then the problem isn't really failure, it's our impatience. And because failure is majorly psychological, only if you agree in your mind that you have failed do you really fail. So this would mean you fail first in your mind and then in reality. So obviously, if the question came, how do you get out of failure? The answer has to be reframing, which I'm going to divide into reframe me. This is profound and has huge transformative potential if done right. So I'm going to walk you through this process in 3 simple steps. So do this with me right now. Think of a recent failure of yours and let's start reframing. Let's start with the me. This is important because people with the greatest drive also experience the biggest failures, which is why you're here watching this video. But failure cuts deep because it challenges who you believe you are. People generally want to think of themselves as capable and confident, but when they experience failure, it threatens their self-image. It's tempting to dismiss this pain as a temporary setback, but some studies have found that if people feel demoralized or unconfident, their brains often stop processing new information. Think about it, the failure that you went back to right now, did it strip away your confidence or did it force you to confront a version of yourself you didn't want to see? Well, here's the thing. It's not about what you failed at, it's about what you think it says about you. So I want you to go back to the drawing board of your perception of you. Regarding that particular failure, what stories have you told yourself? What limiting beliefs have you allowed to grow? Were you thinking of starting a business and said, well, I don't come from a business background, so of course I'd fail. Or I didn't have the required knowledge, the deep pockets, the understanding of the market, whatever that may be for you. While that self-confirming belief is a defense mechanism, it's not really helping you, which is why I want you to acknowledge that old self but also accept it. It was a part of you, but we don't have to take it forward. I see a lot of people also do the power positive thinking, which means you ignore that you failed and move forward. You cannot move forward unless you acknowledge your emotions, your feelings. You must accept the problem before you solve the problem. But remember, it's not just you. While it may feel like it, everyone is failing. You see a beautiful movie or a Netflix series that you think is perfect. Everything is picturesque. The dialogues are unbelievable. The actors are top-notch. Well, believe you me, it was a failure. The movie was probably shot for a year or more. It took thousands of takes to get you 2 hours of watchability. There was rain, or the set wasn't ready. The actor was shouted at, or the director lost his cool. It was a failure, just that you didn't get to see it. You didn't get to see that side of it. The directors and actors and the whole cast was comfortable with that failure because they wanted box office success. So choose your success. Alright, so let's move on to number 2, which is frame. And the best example is Biosphere 2. If you haven't heard of it, here's the story. In 1991, researchers in Arizona created Biosphere 2, a sealed environment to study how life might thrive in simulated Earth-like conditions. Now, inside, trees grew rapidly, shielded from storms, wind, and lightning, but they died just as quickly. Why? Well, the absence of storms meant their roots stayed weak. Because wind forces trees to grow slower but stronger, the roots could not hold the tree high. Now, I'm not going to compare the storms and the trees to life, which makes total sense, by the way, but what we really learn from this story is hidden. What happened to the scientists? Did they stop researching because this one thing failed? Did they stop loving science or did they stop working altogether? I'm guessing not. And that's because Biosphere 2 is an experiment. As long as there's no such thing as an end to it, there's no failure. There's just the next try, the next experiment, and the next. So maybe this business idea did not work or this relationship did not survive the test of time. You do not have to give up on the idea of love altogether. Now be mindful, I'm not asking you to take the relationship as an experiment because that would just make you reckless, not sincere. But I want you to reframe failure as an experiment. Your love wasn't an experiment. Your attempt at a relationship was. Changing the I should win to I want to win can help you. It opens up this iterative mindset. This impartiality of you goes away and the problem gets solved. And balance your efforts. Divide your energy among 3 to 4 goals, whether it is work, relationship, personal growth, not just one. This way, no one setback can actually make you feel like it's the end of the world. Alright, so now let's move on to re, which is very obvious, but this is where it gets interesting. This is where you practice this thinking. You start to not only see the failure as an experiment, but also your successes. A lot of times the success is actually feared. When I become successful, people will not love me for who I am, or people will love me only because of my money, or if I become successful, I could be cheated in business. So while you haven't even become successful yet, this is a fear that you're already harboring. So use reframe me as often as possible, on repeat whenever you can. Reframe this mental chatter to achieve, not grieve. Let others complain, and when they complain, you can have an opportunity to solve a problem, their problem. This is how you make achievements possible. But initially, it will be tough. Tough to work with the new way. You could get rejected, and while I personally don't like the word rejection, your friends, your relatives, your parents may not agree with the setback. But it will not matter if you reframe it for you. If you see it as an attempt and a chance to try again, you will not run into failure. But that's all for this video. If you missed my last video, you can find it right here. I will see you there. Bye.